Very good afternoon all, and welcome back to the afternoon session on the Faculty Development Program on Applications of 3D Printing Technology in Engineering Education, sponsored by AICT Training and Learning Academy, organized by Department of Mechanical Engineering, Dayanand Sar College of Engineering. I take this opportunity to welcome you all, head of the department, dear participants, and today's speaker, Mr. Raghavendra S. A very warm welcome to you, sir. Before I start with the faculty development program, I'd like to introduce today's speaker to you and the topic on which he is going to talk today. Mr. Raghavendra S is an aerospace engineer, entrepreneur, and has 3 years of research experience from NITK Surathkal in the field of CFD and aerodynamics. He's a 3D printing enthusiastic who has many academic accomplishments to his credit. He is the proud recipient of CSIR NAL Gold Medal for Best Project 2016 and Jain University Gold Medal for securing first rank in BE Aerospace. He has also won runner-up award at IM 3D Challenge 2015 organized by ASME, which was held at Boston, USA. He presented India as a student delegate and exchange student at Genesis, that is Japan East Asia Network of Exchange for Students and Youth, held at Tokyo, Japan during December 2011, which was sponsored by MHRD Government of India. He is currently the founder and CEO of Akriti 3D, which is a young team of motivated 3D printing enthusiastic incubated at the lush green campus of NITK Surathkal, Mangalore. He is working towards implementing design thinking in early education through his initiatives Avishkara. So Sir's profile tells us that how much enthusiastic he is towards 3D printing, and representing our nation as a student in Boston, USA and Japan itself is a very big achievement in itself. So sir, I once again welcome you warmly, and I thank you for taking out your time and coming and presenting this session to all our participants. So I'd request Dr. Raghavendra S to start his session. Up to you, sir.
Thank you, sir, for that warm welcome. Actually, I would like to thank Dr. Keshavamurthy, sir, who is the HOD of Mechanical Engineering, for giving me this opportunity. So I also would like to thank AICT for conducting such a very good FDP on the recent technology like 3D printing and 3D scanning. So I think let me just start with it. Let me share my screen. So before proceeding into the today's topic, actually, let me just give you a brief overview of our team actually. So as I was telling, we are a young team actually, we are incubated at NITK Surathkal. What we aim to be is a one-stop solution for everything in 3D domain. That's related to 3D design, render and prototyping. So at present, actually, we are working with various stakeholders like industries, or hospitals, schools and colleges to reaching this technology. So apart from Mangalore, actually, we also have our presence in Bangalore, Shimoga, and Belgaum, where we are working with local industries like casting industries or foundries to realize this technology. So to give you a brief overview about our core team, this is it actually. Myself, I'm the founder and CEO. So I started this venture when I was doing my MTech by research in NITK Surathkal. So my background was into completely research on CFD and low speed aerodynamics. And for this venture, actually, some of my friends actually they also joined hands, like Mr. Lohit Parwal actually, who currently heads our project. So he has previously worked in IASC. He is also same background from CFD, and we have Mr. Kirtan actually, who was previously working in Kempegowda International Airport in airside operations. We have Mr. Samyak, so who is heading our technical department. So who has previous research experience in GTRE, DRDO, and Vishrut actually, he's been working in a couple of IT related startups. And for this, whatever dream venture, my father actually, he is Mr. Surendra B. He stood with me, and he's been our CFO, and along with his friends like Mr. Revan Sidappa sir, so who guides us in taking us any decision related to academic operations. And we have Mr. Naveen Kumar actually, who's a ex IBM as well as a serial entrepreneur by himself actually, who helps us take key business decisions. So this is a gist of our team actually. So we are a, young team of aerospace engineers. Again, along with that, actually, we have a elderly mentors actually, who's been guiding us, taking some key decisions. Coming to our services, these are the four verticals actually we are working in. We use a method called as design thinking actually. That's at the core of all our offerings. So that's actually inspired from Stanford D School conceptualization. What it tells is it's a human-centered approach to innovation. So whatever you do, finally, it has to reach your end user. So in every product development cycle or design cycle, we involve our end users actually. So that's what the complete philosophy is about. So apart from that, actually our team, we have the expertise of rapid prototyping or 3D printing technology, where across different material portfolios, we are working like FDM, SLS, SLA, and DMLS. Along with that, we also give value-added services like 3D design and rendering in organic, engineering, parametric, and latticing. So we have a dedicated department for academia that's called Avishkar, where actually we will be conducting certified training courses for professionals. And along with that, we also set up tinkering, prototyping, as well as innovation labs for schools and colleges. So we have a dedicated department for R&D that's focused on new product development, where again we use this design thinking methodology to come up with new products according to the market demand and the requirement. So going to the core topic on the agenda of today's topic is actually, first I'll be giving an introduction about this 3D scanning, what it is, and then we'll look at the working principle behind it. And the main applications are actually can be used in part inspection like quality control or dynamic measurement. Then it can be used in reverse engineering. So those two applications we'll be looking at, and then the future scope. So at present, like wherever you see, like if you hear the term industry 4.0, there much of the scope is actually on additive manufacturing or 3D printing technology. uh, Sometimes you feel actually the so much scope has been given for AM, actually you feel there is one more this complementary technology called 3D scanning that's becoming sideline. But actually it's a very great technology which is having equal potential as that of AM, and it supports AM workflow as well. So that's field of the technology. It's called 3D scanning technology. So in this 5 days workshop, anyway, you will be learning about 3D printing. So along with that, the knowledge about 3D scanning, it will make you appreciate actually what is the overall value actually this AM is bringing to the industries. So that's why it's called as industrial, the next industrial revolution or the industry 4.2. So daily, actually, even on a daily basis, we interact with many industries. Still, they are following many old age methodologies or the conventional techniques. So today, if you compare it to outside countries, the industry it's at a different level. So manufacturing also, it's becoming smart manufacturing. So latest digital technologies like artificial intelligence or industrial IoT or this big data, all this actually getting integrated into your product-based manufacturing. So that's what the smart manufacturing is about. So in that aspect, like I want all of you to listen about this 3D scanning technology, so that you will have a different level of appreciation towards 3D printing. So to start with, let us first understand actually what's the difference between a 2D or a 3D system. I think since most of the audience is faculties, I think you'll be pretty much aware of it. But when it comes to the application point of view, that context actually it's very important to understand it. So whenever we are explaining this concept 3D printing to a layman, we tell actually like normally if you take a printout or a Xerox, actually that's a 2D print actually, where basically your ink is getting printed on a thin sheet of paper, 2D paper. So that's called as 2D printing. Whereas 3D printing means maybe if you stack some 10 papers or 20 or 100 papers, you'll get one more dimension. So that dimension is actually the thickness. So that's called as 3D printing. So apart from this, actually, there have been many names for this technology also. It was called as free-form fabrication. That is, it is free from the complexity of the object. So it was also called as AutoFab, that is automated fabrication. And the industry standard name is actually additive manufacturing. Why this 3D printing name came is actually, it was the MIT researchers who invented this 2D printing. So similarly, when they invented this additive technology also, they popularized this name called as 3D printing. So in that context only, we need to understand 2D system and a 3D system. A 2D system, it can create digital images, whereas your 3D system, it can create digital sculptures. So in 2D system, your depth data, it will be missing. So it is flattened within the two-dimensional space. So the Z-axis information, it won't be there. So like a photo, the depth is perceived from the shadows and lighting. But a 3D system, it reproduces a complete 3D shape. Actually, you will get to know the complete shape or the geometry, including depth. So this depth, it gives you an advantage actually in dimensional analysis, where a 2D system strength is only the collection of color data. And why I'm telling this difference between 2D and 3D system is most of the scanners actually, it use combination of both of these. It's not just directly you will get a 3D model or the 3D data. So it combines this 2D color maps and then it overlays on it to create a 3D complete output, final output. So that's why it is important to understand the difference between 2D and the 3D systems. So with this in background, let us see the working principle of a 3D scanning. So the basic principle is we use a device called as 3D scanner to collect the data about a subject. So here the subject, it can be an object or an environment or a person. So on the left side, you are seeing a representational image actually, where the person is holding that device is nothing but scanner. And the object you are seeing on the digital screen, it is being created. So that is how the normal process of 3D scanning happens. So some 3D scanners, it can simultaneously, it can collect shape as well as the color data. So such output, it is called as a texture. So why 3D scanning is becoming popular is these 3D scans are compatible with your CAD softwares. Finally, when it comes to product development or the new product development, so it all starts with the digital design. So in this digital manufacturing workflow, so whatever the output you are getting, that should be compatible with this CAD software. And this data directly it can be sent for 3D printing. So that's the advantage of this. And the process is called as reverse engineering, which in later part of the presentation we'll be looking at. And these 3D scanners, these are powerful tools for professionals in several industries actually, like automotive, aerospace, dental, jewelry, and even in medical actually it can be used. So normally in medical, you might have heard about medical imaging like X-ray, MRI, ultrasound. So these medical imaging devices are for checking the internal structure of your body. But if you want the outside curvature or the outside contour of your body, for example, in prosthetics and orthotics, so this is very important. So you need to look at the outer curvature of the body. If I'm producing an artificial limb, so I need to get the exact patient specific data of that curvature. So that is where these 3D scanners can be used across multiple disciplines, where the principle would be the same, but the final application I'll be using, that depends on like your end requirement. So in 3D scanners, again, there are different physical principles are there. So it is mainly classified into these categories. That is, first thing is laser triangulation. Next one is structured light. Third one is photogrammetry. Fourth one is contact-based 3D scanning. And the final one is laser pulse. So today we'll look at all of this. What are the principles on which it is be working? And we'll try to have a demo of one of these scanners. For example, structured light scanner. My team from Bangalore, they will be joining in a couple of minutes. So they'll be able to give you a demo of how this scanner works, how normally actually we do it on a regular basis. So first, looking at the first principle, that is actually triangulation. So I think this everyone will be knowing. Normally, these surveyors, they'll be using it on a daily basis, like to plot the maps or in road constructions. Actually, you might have seen this. So what triangulation is, in this, the basic principle is there will be a light source. This light source, it can be a laser or an LED. It will project uh, light onto the your target part. That will be again collected by a camera. So whatever this travel it happens, this will create a triangle actually. So from this triangle, we have actually basic mathematical properties. Based on that, actually, we can exactly calculate the distance between the object. So similarly, if we can have this multiple points, so we'll be able to get the curvature of that object. So that's the principle of triangulation. So if we look at laser triangulation, the only difference is the source of light. Instead of LED, here we are using a laser light. So it can be a laser line or a single laser point. So first what we'll do, the scanners, it will project a laser onto the object, and that laser light, it will reflect from that scanned object. And that initial trajectory itself will be modified. So this modified trajectory will be picked up by a sensor. Then based on this modified trajectory, we'll be able to detect the deviation angle. So this is very important. Based on this deviation angle, actually you can directly calculate the distance between the object and the scanner. So when the scanner collects enough distances, it is capable of mapping the whole object surface. So this is the principle behind laser triangulation. So if you look at some of the advantages, it has obviously high resolution and accuracy, but the disadvantage is it is very sensitive to the properties of the object surface. For example, if it is very shiny surface or a reflective surface, it is not able to capture it. If it is a transparent or a dark surface. So these are some of the surfaces which are very problematic when it comes to laser triangulation. Now, second one we'll look at, this is actually a very popular technology. It's used for metrology grade portable 3D scanners. So that's called as structured light 3D scanning. So here the difference is it uses trigonometric triangulation, but it does not rely on a laser. So what it does actually, here also there should be a source, there should be a target, but only difference is instead of laser actually, here you are projecting a series of linear patterns. For example, you can see in the representational image, there's one light source and there are two cameras actually. So this light source, it will project a complete pattern actually. Normally this pattern, it can be a series of grid lines or it can be a dotted matrix. So the system is then able to examine the edges of each line in the pattern and how lines are deformed. So based on it, it will be able to calculate the distance from the scanner to the object surface. So this light actually you can directly use white light or blue light. So standard projectors also it can be used in these type of scanning devices. That's again called as digital light processing technology. So the projected pattern is usually a series of light rays. As I was telling, it can be a grid pattern or it can also be a randomized dot matrix. So when you look at the advantages of structured light scanning, so the main advantages are its speed and resolution, because anyway it will directly project this complete series actually. There it was only a laser line actually. So this laser line, it has to travel the complete part. But here the projector distance itself you can arrange so that your whole pattern, it can cover the entire part. And one more advantage is it is non-harmful light. So it can be used for 3D body scanning also, as I was telling, for medical imaging techniques. But the disadvantages is these are very sensitive to lighting conditions. The same advantage we got from the light, it is making a disadvantage. That is, it is very sensitive to lighting condition and it will have trouble working outdoors in broad daylights. So normally, this is the physical part you're seeing on the left side of the screen. That is meant for 3D scanning. What it 3D scanning does is it will create a complete point cloud data. So that is the collection of digital 3D coordinates. So this point cloud data will be converted into a digital 3D model. So this is how the 3D scanning actually it works. So finally the output we are getting, it's a three-dimensional representation of the object. After obviously it will be post processing is required. For example, if you are scanning, for example, a mouse, you might have kept it on a table. So along with that, even the table will be scanned. So that will also come. So that minor geometry cleanup and all, it's called as post processing. That you need to do it so that you get the required object 3D data. So next we have photogrammetry technique. I think before that, I think we can go for a small demo. I'll just check with my team. Mr. Sumit and Mr. Kiran from our team, I think they can tell me if they are ready with the demo. First, we'll look at the demo, then we'll come back to the presentation. I think Kiran, I'll just check with my team. Kiran, I think you can unmute and you can speak. I think our team is ready with the scanner for the demo. For the purpose of our demo, actually, we'll be using Zeiss Comet ATEM scanner to show you actually how we'll do normally a 3D scanning of the object. And normally, like you will get to know like how much time it will take for a part to get scanned. I think Mr. Kiran will come online now.
Hello. Hello, sir.
Yeah, Kiran, yeah, we are able to hear. I think I'll just stop sharing my screen so that you can start the sharing.
Yeah.
So Kiran is joining from our Bangalore office. So he'll be showing a scanner demo.
Sir, I'm visible.
Yeah, we are able to see your screen.
Sir, can I start?
Yeah, we can see the scanner. I
This
think
is
you
the
can
comment.
just give a brief overview about the scanner and then maybe show a sample part how it will get scanned.
Okay. This is the comment. Can I start? No.
Yeah, you can start.
Yeah. This is the Comet 8M. It has one camera and one projector. Can you see here?
Yeah, we are able to see.
Yeah. This one is camera. This one is projector. This is the tripod stand. We can adjust the height here by moving like this. This one for rotating.
Okay.
This control for up and down.
Mm-hmm.
This one for axis.
Okay.
This is the part I have to scan now.
Okay.
It is work on triple scan principle. Hmm. Can I start scanning?
Yeah, you can start it.
I will share a screen.
Okay. Kiran, I think like along with the hardware, if you can explain the software capability or the software which is required for the scanning, so that also would be helpful for the participants. Hello, Kiran.
Hello.
Yeah.
Can't able to hear you.
Now we are able to hear you actually.
Yeah. Yeah. My screen is visible now.
Yeah. We are able to see the screen.
It has different lenses like 100, 75, 300, and 600. With respect to your part size and features of the part, you can change the lens. There is two options like single shot and rotary. If you click on single shot, I have to adjust. It is visible, no? There is
Yeah.
a single point
Now we are
laser.
looking at the this one part.
Yeah, there is a two laser. You have to should be collinear. It should be
Okay.
like the single point. Then click next. OK. It takes single shot.
So it takes only a 2D image of the component.
Just a one error.
So that's the laser pattern, right? We are able to see on the part
Yeah.
that the projected pattern.
There's a spring projector.
Okay.
Sorry for the disturbance. Just an error. There is an option. You have to adjust the exposure light by like this.
That is exposure time, I guess, no? Is it the time or the light intensity?
Light.
Okay.
If it like shows like red color, You have to
Okay.
minimize the light.
Okay.
Okay. Then click next. So give me 2 seconds, 2 minutes time. I have to check.
Or I think you can directly show one more option. This is a single frame you are showing now.
Okay, just a minute. Sorry for the disturbance.
Okay.
Cable is disconnected.
So whenever 3D scanning actually we are talking about, so there comes the two components actually. One is you need the hardware capability, and the second thing is the software capability. So right now we are trying to showcase both actually. So hardware means it comes to scanners actually. You can take a white light scanner or a blue light or red light scanner. Then to complement that, depending on your application, you need a specialized software. For example, the OEMs will provide the scanning software, but if you need specialized functions like inspection or reverse engineering, again, there are specialized softwares for that.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, tell me.
Just I have to leave the meeting and connect again.
Okay.
Some technical problem.
So as I was explaining actually, so whenever we talk about 3D scanning application, you need hardware capability and the corresponding software capabilities. So even right now, like even if we look at some of the local industries, the major problem is more than the hardware cost. Actually, your scanning or the software capability, it would be a more expensive option. So that is why actually you can see like there's not much wider adoption. Though there are actually right now it is on a boom, but still actually it is not on an expected scale. That's the barrier actually. And one more factor we need to see is actually looking at the accuracy. So what is the scan accuracy your end application requires? So if we look at casting industry, for the precise components itself, we need the accuracy. Maybe 40 micron or 50 micron, 100 micron. So in that range actually. But if you look at only die inspection or the casting part inspection, so there actually it's not required that much. Even if it is in actually that accuracy would be sufficient for the application. So I think in that aspect, if you look at, there is really a need actually for these low range scanners with actually the accuracy as per the application. We need to build it in India actually, because we are relying on maybe German make machines. Right now, the Zeiss also we are seeing it's a German make machine, and there are Chinese competitors also. But from India, actually, this need is there, where the low cost scanning solution is required for majority of the industries like small scale industries and MSMEs. So if we understand this concept now, I think since most of you are faculties, you can motivate your students actually to come up with innovative concepts of building such a scanner. So they can approach local industries and they can get their requirement. So there itself actually will know like how much potential is there, and why it is not gone for the widespread adaptation like 3D printing. So even in 3D printing also, FDM 3D printing is the most accessible one and the affordable solution. That's why actually everyone, you can see they'll be heard of FDM 3D printing. Kiran, I think the issue got resolved. I think you can just show the screen through your camera. No need to share the screen, I guess. Kiran?
Hello, hello.
Yeah, Kiran, we can hear.
Sorry, sir. Sorry for the disturbance.
I think you can just show
Okay, I will
through
show
your
again,
camera.
sir.
Okay, yeah.
This is a Comet 8M. It has one camera and one projector. You can see the projector, right? It's a tripod. You can change the lens. You have different type of lenses there. With respect to your part size and features, you can change the lens. These are not different lens. This one is 600 mm. This is 150. This one is 300. This is a calibration board. For different lenses, they have different calibration board. This one for 300 and 600 lens. Smaller one for 150 and 70. I will start scanning now. So is it visible, right?
Yeah, we are able to see. So right now, actually, the pattern is getting projected on the part.
Yeah, come in. Here two lasers is there.
Okay.
Yeah, the minimum distance between the part and scanner is 490 mm.
Okay.
The laser should be collider. Look like single point.
Okay.
Then go to rotary option. Here, you can see the how many rotation you want. Here the option is there. You can increase it and decrease it. With respect to your part features, you can set the number of rotation. That is divided by 360.
Okay, so that like all features get captured in the scanner, right?
Yeah, with respect to your part features, like if it is complicated, you have to increase the more rotation.
Okay.
If it is in less feature, you go with the 8 or 7. Click next. This is the sensor status. It should be in a right list. It should be in green. If it is in no scanner, something error has happened which shows like cross mark, right? No, not focus. Then focus to the part. Then it came green. Then click next. This is the fringe projection. Layer by layer, it will capture the features, surface of the part. So is it visible or clearly?
Yeah. We're able to see. Okay, right now that the model
You
got
have to-
constructed.
Then you have to cut the base part. You don't need this part, right? Base.
Yeah.
You have to delete the extra material. Then click next. Then will system automatically take the next shot. Yeah. Then you have to match the first shot and second shot by features base.
Okay.
Then click the features. Yeah. In the third view, you can see the first and second matching. Then show system show status, alignment is successful. When one more option is there, you want to check the deviation of alignment. It is 30 microns, 0.013.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Then
Right
click
now the
next.
only front part it got captured, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
given 10 rotation, and then automatically match with respect to given features base, then automatically they matches. You can see the rotary, they automatically turn.
So that is a rotary table, right?
Yeah, this is the rotary table.
Okay.
The automatic rotary table.
Mm-hmm.
You have to give the set of number of rotation.
But in terms of orientation, again, to capture backward one, again, you have to change it, right?
Yeah, again you have to change the size part,
Okay.
rotate
Yeah,
it and again scan it. Let's see the data. You can see the number of rotation here. The 5 rotation is completed till now.
And what's the approximate time actually it might take to capture this complete object?
With respect to your part size and features, if you give
Okay.
more rotation, it takes more time.
Then you will get the fine details, I guess, right?
Yeah, fine detail. You get the fine details. Whole complex geometry, you can get it.
So what are the features actually it cannot capture? Maybe like a threading and all, it will be able to capture.
You can, sir. You can. Whole thread is not possible. One side face you can.
Okay.
Then shiny part you have to spray, like mirror object.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, one side is completed till now.
Okay.
For another side, you have to create one more sequence. Again, click on rotary. It automatically taken second one. Now I have to decrease this. Then you have to change the part. Next side. Then click next. For second row sequence, you have to repeat the same procedure. Same like cut the base plane and match the first shot and second shot.
Yeah. Okay. So I think roughly around 10 to 15 minutes it will take for this part.
Yeah, it's enough.
Okay. And generally, can you just tell like what are the challenges like you might face when you are scanning a complex part?
Some part you have to need spray, like you have to already told mirror. If you have mirror based part, you have to need spray for that. And some other geometry are there. Complex geometry, you have to capture inner deep, you have to adjust, you take single shot. If like I need this whole completely.
Okay.
I have to adjust the camera. You have to increase the height, increase the camera height, and take the upper shot.
Okay.
By taking single shot, you have to match it, and we get the complete features.
It is only because that light, it is not able to reach that area, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
What are the light can sensor can see that amount will capture.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
You have to adjust the camera. Like take photos, right? You have to adjust the focus. Same like.
Okay. I think everyone, they might have got a pretty much good idea about how the 3D scanning works and what are the challenges in it. So similar to normally taking a picture, you need to capture all the features. So wherever that light can pass, that feature actually you will be able to get. So, and the time also you saw actually roughly 10 to 15 minutes it was taking for that part. But the final output you would get would be a 3D model actually. So that if you do the post processing and reverse engineering operation, so you'll be getting all the 3D features with all dimensions.
Yeah,
So,
you can use it for reverse engineering, modeling,
yeah.
inspection, anything.
So if I am going to
3D printing.
do manually actually, so I will have to measure all the individual dimension, then create a 2D drawing, then convert it into 3D model. This is the normal workflow, right? So, but with the 3D scanning, actually directly you will be getting the 3D model and you will be getting all those dimensions accurately to the range of 50 to 100 micron accuracy. So I think, yeah, now you can see the pretty much the complete part. So that alignment software will be doing actually, if there is any minor shift while you are rotating that object.
This one?
Yeah, yeah. You just change the orientation, no? Like top to
Yeah, I
bottom.
just zoom in now. What are the features they captured?
Okay.
The alignment is automatically damaged. I already give 2 points right in initial alignment.
Yeah, yeah, correct, correct.
That basis they are automatically aligned. If you place the markers around the part, we no need to give the features alignment. It automatically matches with respect to the reference point.
Okay. I think pretty much we got the component. So thank you, Mr. Kiran, actually for showing us the demo of the scanner and how it works. So
Pleasure, sir.
yeah, yeah. Thank you.
Sorry for the error.
Yeah, it's okay actually. There will be these glitches and all will be there, how much ever you prepare. So I think I'll just continue with my presentation.
Okay. And then I will show the final data.
Okay, okay. Thank you. Thank you once again, Kiran.
Okay.
So we just saw actually how that projector based scanner works and how much time it took for really capturing all those data. But still, if you compare it with the conventional way of making a 3D model, so that is by measuring all the dimensions. Maybe I don't know that component, so much dimensions it had, maybe 50 to 100 dimensions it had. So all those you need to accurately you need to capture. So when there's a physical draftsman is involved, there's always a manual error, room for manual error. So when such a laser scanner is used, you will get the accurate output and repeatable results actually. You'll be able to rely on that. So that's the advantage, and direct 3D model you will get. So no need to go from 2D to 3D. That workflow is overall it is been avoided. So that's about the scanning thing. So now let's look at some other techniques actually which is available for 3D scanning. So one such technique, it is called as photogrammetry. So since even Kiran, while he was explaining, he was telling it is similar to taking photos. So that principle actually it is called as photogrammetry. So nowadays, this 3D miniature concept, it is becoming popular. So if you give maybe the photo from different angles, maybe 5 photos, 10 photos, even in iOS application, actually it's available. So all those photos actually, it will club it and it will create your 3D model. So that's called as photogrammetry. So if you want a refined definition, it's actually a science of making measurements from the photos actually, especially for recovering the exact positions of surface points. So it's based on a mix of computer vision as well as the computational geometry algorithms. So the main thing is you need to take the subject should be static. The photos you need to take from different points. Then there will be an algorithm that will automatically detect pixels corresponding to a unique physical point. So this is the principle of photogrammetry. So now I'll just show some of the photogrammetry projects done by one of our channel partner called Axis Map. So they are also a very motivated startup like us. I think now you can see a digitally reconstructed 3D model of Kavale Durga temple. So they have used actually drone cameras and even professional cameras also to completely capture the temple. So this is one very interesting application. It's called digital heritage. So if you want to preserve all the monument data in digital format, so that is where actually you can go with photogrammetry. I think now you can see the complete look of the temple, how it is. Exactly how the temple is there, like that output actually you're able to see here. So this is a part of digital heritage project. So quickly I will show one more similar project. So this is done at actually the final resting place of the great poet actually Kuvempu. So that's at Kavishaila. So here you can see the Kavi Samadhi. So being created actually through photogrammetry technique. So exactly how it is, all those minor details, everything has been captured. So like this, actually, you can preserve all the heritage details. Maybe if there are some old manuscripts or sculptures, you can exactly do that using this photogrammetry. And whatever this object 3D data, it is there in .obj format, it will be there. That can be again converted into a 3D printable format called as .htl. So I think maybe in the morning session on overview of 3D printing technologies, you might have heard about the .htl file. So that's a standard tessellation language file. So that actually you can 3D print this exact model. So that is how actually the workflow is interrelated. This technology, the main challenge is you need to examine tens of hundreds of photos. Still, if you want to capture very fine, actually, sometimes you need to capture thousands of photos as well with high accuracy. And you need to run these algorithms. You need very powerful computer that will be having very good computational power as well as graphic. It will be able to handle that. So that's one challenge with photogrammetry. So now if you look at the main advantages, it's the acquisition speed and the ability to pick up colors and textures. So you saw in the digital heritage project, actually, whatever the texture was available on that rocky mountain or the rocky temple, everything it was able to capture. So that was the main advantage. So along with that, it's also capable of reconstructing subjects at large scales, like landscapes or the monuments photographed from ground or from the air through aerial photography, actually drone photography. So one main disadvantage is, again, it is dependent on the photo quality. So whatever the input photographs you will be having, that very high resolution photographs you need to give input. Again, if you want to run this on your regular desktop computers or PCs, it will be problematic. So that's one disadvantage of photogrammetry. So next comes contact-based 3D scanning technology. So this has been the industry gold standard. Many of the industries, they are using this touch-based or the probe-based 3D scanning technology. So it's also called as digitizing. So where there will be a touch probe. So physically it will be going on touching the complete your part or the component. That is how it will record the 3D information. So sometimes actually it is attached with an arm also. Actually normally ferro arms you might have heard. So this touch probe scanners can be attached to these arms so that actually more precisely these movements can be coordinated. So here you're seeing actually some specific configuration, they're also called as CMM, that is coordinate measuring machines. So these are very precise, very accurate machines which will be able to calculate complete 3D data of a part. So here you are seeing a small animation actually, how that probe is working. So it is widely used to perform quality control. So in all QC operations, CMM reports are used. So one advantage, like if you compare 3D laser scanning with the conventional CMM, this is actually based on limited number of touch probes. Whereas if you look at a laser scanner, here complete laser field is actually incident on the part. So number of points will be more. Normally we look at actually 10 million points, 15 million points. So here actually it will be able to capture complete surface data when compared to a CMM. So this allows for actually a good capture of data, as well as this will be a cloud resident data. Directly you can send it for 3D printing for any redesign or physical prototype if you want to look at. And these portable scanners, you can directly take it on shop floor and use it actually. So that's the advantage of 3D laser scanning. Main thing is it is very precise and the ability to 3D scan transparent or reflective surfaces. And if you look at the downside, it is very slow process and it is not able to work with organic or the freeform shapes. So that's the disadvantage of contact-based 3D scanning technology. Now let's look at the last principle, that is actually laser pulse based. I think this many of you might have heard of this. It's called as LIDAR actually. So similar to radar concept. Radar is actually radio based detection and ranging. So LIDAR is actually laser based. So you will be knowing the speed of light and you'll be projecting a laser light. This is mainly used for actually calculating very long distances and all. For example, you might have heard there's a laser mirror actually. It's found on, they have kept it on the moon so that actually you can measure the distance between Earth and the moon precisely. So similar concept actually laser pulse based 3D scanners work. It's also known as time of flight scanner. So it will just calculate the time, and since you know the speed, you will be able to calculate the distance. So in order to precisely measure the distance, these scanners actually, it computes millions of laser pulses with an accuracy of up to picosecond. So here you can see what's the accuracy or the range you are getting, 1 picosecond. That's actually point, you can see like how much minute scale actually it is able to capture it. So on the left side, you are seeing a LIDAR actually, a small animation. And one more thing is actually here, since each measure, it will collect only 1 point. So if you want to capture complete the 360 degree, so you need to rotate that laser point. So that is why actually to do so, the scanner is usually fitted with a mirror. So that changes the orientation of the laser. So on the animation, you will be able to see the scanner, the mirror, it is rotating so that actually complete 360 degree, you will be able to capture the data. And the main advantage is actually they have the ability to scan very big components or the environment. So if you want to scan entire buildings, actually you can use these laser 3D scanners. And if you want to survey some lands, actually you can use this. And some laser pulse actually, they are also equipped with this dynamic SLAM algorithms, that is simultaneous localization as well as mapping algorithms. So through that, actually, it will enhance the ability to recognize your surroundings as well. So this is the laser pulse based 3D scanning technology. And coming to applications, majorly actually, there are three applications. So one is whatever the part it is there, if you scan it, you will get the triangulated data or the mesh data. So that mesh data, you can directly use it for part inspection. That is, if you have a part, actually you want to check its features, there it can be used, like in quality control. Or the second application is you want to reconstruct entire model. For example, you have a very old part, you don't have the drawings for that or the designs for it. Then what you do the 3D scanning, you get the 3D model. So you reconstruct a complete 3D model, then you can get the drawings of that component. Then maybe if you want to produce it or go for manufacturing, you can use those drawings. So that application, it's called as reverse engineering application. Or there is one more, it is that is called as rapid prototyping. So that we have been already looking at it. So two applications we'll see majorly, inspection and reverse engineering. So here I'm showing one example of part inspection. So on the left side top, you have the CAD data. So that actually the digital model you have created. Now in the downside, you have the scan data. For example, I have the CAD model. I might have used some method like investment casting or sand casting to make this component. Then that component, whether it has come accordingly to my dimensions or not, to need to check that, I will scan the fabricated part. So that scan data is the bottom part. Then what I will do, I will overlap these two. So that's called as best fit alignment. Then you will get to know exactly where are the deviations are there, whether your part has come accordingly to the CAD model or not. So this is the part inspection part. Then you can check the deviation. So on the right side, you can see the color contours. It is from plus 1 mm to minus 1 mm. So what and all the deviations are there, you can see that. And in the threading features also, for the internal thread, it is able to capture that. So it all depends on whether your light it is able to reach that location or not. So that to make sure that light has reached that end, that is the job of a skilled person who is handling the 3D scanner. Then reverse engineering, as I told you, you need to extract the dimension to reconstruct a CAD reference file. So in most reverse engineering scenarios, you won't be having any drawings with you. So that is why you go for reverse engineering. And the common use cases are, you want to make a new part from an existing design, or you want to make a new part in interface with an existing part. For example, there's a mating part, again, you are redesigning a complete new part for that. Then you need actually reverse engineering. And if you want to understand the competitor's design, so how it is unique from us, then you use reverse engineering. Or you want to optimize an existing design, then you go for reverse engineering. So these are some of the applications. Actually, we use 3D scanner for reverse engineering. So on the left, actually, you can see the scan data is always, it's a point cloud data. So that can be, if you're going for inspection, that will serve as your reference CAD or the STL. And if you overlap with the original CAD, that will give you a color map. In reverse engineer application, that STL data is the polygon data or the mesh data. So that will be again need to convert it into the CAD surfaces. So that's called as reverse engineering process. Now let us look at the future scope. So according to a recent survey, so it's been estimated that the 3D scanning market, it will grow at an annual rate of 15% over 5 years. In that, actually, the majority of market share will be that of portable 3D scanning, because nowadays complete digital manufacturing actually workflow is getting adopted. So portable 3D scanning means you can directly take it into the shop floor, and whatever the changes are there, you can directly make it. So that is how portable 3D scanning is becoming popular. Why? Because they have the convenience as well as the flexibility for a wide variety of applications, including, say, all industries, they will have PLM with them. So directly you can adopt it to your PLM. And it is very simple to operate. And I think all complete process has been automated. Now you saw actually even the turntable, it's been automated. So you don't need to manually rotate that. So that's the level of automation it's been done, and lower cost actually. Like compared to your conventional CMM and all, it is very cheaper, and you get very greater accuracy, speed, as well as reliability for mission critical projects. So this is the future scope of 3D scanning. I think with this, I'd like to end the session, and I think we can take the question and answers. Uh, and even if there is any doubt in the demo, I think we can take those. Kiran, you are available, right? I think not available.
Hello. Hello, sir.
Tell me.
Yeah. So thank you for being with us and for giving us the valuable information about the 3D scanning and its technique, even in the practical issue. It's a wonderful information. We are very grateful to you, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, I think if there are any questions from participants.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I request participants, if you have any question, you can ask the questions now. I repeat, I request the participants, if you have any questions, you can ask the questions to the sir.
And since actually faculties are here, like I just tell these words, many of the students actually they're not aware of some of these industry relevant tools and technologies like 3D scanning, 3D printing, because the future market, the future job roles, it will be created based on this. For example, until now you might be needing one CNC operator or a lathe operator. In the coming years, you want a 3D scanning operator actually. 3D scanner operator you'll be needing, and you will be needing specialized persons for reverse engineering and for design optimization, topology optimization. So all these specializations will get created because the industry is moving in a very rapid pace. Obviously, this demand also will change. So we are already seeing the transition happening. So since as faculties, if you are aware about these job markets or the new job market which is getting created, I think you can enlighten your students in this regard. And even in medical related field also. There actually an engineer, he needs to work with the radiologist and doctors. So that is where even the NEP recently it has implemented. So that talks about interdisciplinary approaches. So if you want in medical 3D imaging, so that is the main essence actually. An engineer, he needs to understand the medical requirement and radiologist requirement. Then he need to use the CAD, whatever he has learned in his engineering, to finally it will be useful for the end user is the patient. So that is how actually these interdisciplinary concepts are getting created. And even there also there is one more scope for field. It is called a segmentation process. So the normal medical imaging data or the scan data, it will be in DICOM format. That you need to create it into a 3D printable format, that is STL format. So this is a very time-taking and laborious process, and it requires skilled persons. So that is where actually I feel actually a lot of jobs will get created, where actually a person with engineering knowledge as well as this complete overview of the project, he will be able to handle it. Yes, sir.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, there are some questions in the chat box. On behalf of Dr. P. Suresh, sir, there is a question that how much minimum cost charging for 3D scanning of a product like connecting rod crankshaft?
Okay. Right now, sir, actually 3D scanning cost, it is dependent on your how much time it takes for scanning. For example, now you looked at one part, it just took around 15 minutes actually. So there is a industry standard rate per hour, this much it is there. And again, it is based on the scanner actually. So if you go with maybe this low cost Chinese scanners, that will be very minimum actually, you will be costing nominal charges will be there. Or if you go with these German make Zeiss machines as we demonstrated today, so that will increase actually. So normally, how we interact with industries and all is on a regular basis, maybe like monthly once, or we'll visit those industries. They'll be having ready of at least some 10 to 20 components, so that they will occupy us the entire day. So that per day costing we can give them. So that is how actually 3D scanning at present we have been doing.
So can this 3D printing can be used for printing integrated circuits? Sir?
Yes, but it is at a R&D level only.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Yeah.
So I request the participants, if you have any more questions, you can ask to the sir.
For bio, I think there's one more question. For biomedical applications, please specify any parts to produce by using this technology. Sir, biomedical, actually, there's been a great scope actually. At present, we are working with Jaideva and Victoria hospitals. And in this COVID pandemic situation, there was this rise of mucormycosis, or black fungus actually, where we have seen actually with our own eyes, even very small kids and all, and even elder patients also, complete their parts actually, it's been removed because of mucormycosis. There actually, we need to completely reconstruct those parts. That is where actually 3D printing can come into picture. So we are using actually Formlabs SLA machines. Using that, we can print soft tissues. So if you could completely model organ, or the complete whatever that part has been removed actually because of this fungus, if you could model and fit into that, I think it was a really saving application. So in biomedical, again, the challenge is this biocompatibility, and anything if it is medical related means there are many certifications required, ethical clearances required. That's the one thing you need to be careful with. But there are very much scope for R&D actually in terms of biomedical applications. And one more question: what is the minimum cost of scanner? See, it depends on white light, red light, or blue light scanner. That normally the Chinese scanners, what I'm talking, that cost anywhere in the range of 8 to 10 lakhs, up to 15 lakhs maybe it will go. But these Creaform, Zeiss, these scanners, it is in the range of 40 lakhs and above. Sir, whether same scanner will be used for metallic equipments and buildings or not? No, actually, these are different scanners. Actually, they are available for building. Actually, you will need long range scanners, so that works on different principle. But right now, actually, whatever it we have demonstrated, that is for mainly for engineering applications you can use. Can mild steel components be 3D printed? See, metal AM actually, it is still in a development stage. I think even mild steel components can be printed, but again, the thing is cost factor. So if you want just one component, you want 3D printed in mild steel, I think it will cost lakhs together. Material recommended for this biomedical application. Sir, there are many biocompatible materials. Normally, I can tell you some of the SLA resins are available, like elastic 50A is there, flexible 80A is there, and Biomed Clear and Biomed Amber. These are some of the resins actually. It is recommended for biomedical applications. But again, there the challenge is you need to work with a consulting doctor, and you need to make sure all the certifications and ethical clearances you have met. That's the one challenge. Yeah, thank you, sir. I think Devraj sir, yeah, thank you. Yes, sir, I think I have answered all the questions.
Yes, sir. It's been a wonderful session, and thank you for your informative session, sir. So request all the participants to please post your feedback using the link which is posted in the chat box. So I posted the links in the chat box. I request participants to give their feedbacks using that Google form. And also tomorrow morning session will be starting at tomorrow at 10 a.m. sharply. So tomorrow sessions will be starting tomorrow sharply at 10 a.m. Thank you. Please kindly mark your feedbacks.
Hello, sir. Where we can find the feedback from, sir?
So in the chat box, I posted the link. So